If you like audiobooks or audio shows, check out a free trial of Audible. Just click the link in the description. Welcome to Mindshock True Crime. You are listening to the Maura Murray series. This is part 44, 12 Tribes 2. I am your host, Bruce McGuire.
And Maxwell Powers.
And today we're going to be diving even deeper into the 12 Tribes mystery and whether or not Maura Murray could have been affiliated with them in some capacity, whether or not they helped her escape her life, even if temporarily, and other factors involved in this whole issue. As always, if you like the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Make sure your device allows those notifications to come through. If you like the podcast, hit the like button. Feel free to share it across social media platforms. Become a patron on Patreon, and you will get priority in case requests. And becoming a patron also helps us to release more episodes at a faster schedule. Also, like and follow our Facebook page for exclusive updates. We will have content released exclusively on Facebook. And you can also check us out Reddit and Twitter. All right, Maxwell. So now that you have had some time to mull it over, do you think it's possible the 12 tribes had something to do with Maura Murray's disappearance?
It's possible. I like the theory.
And furthermore, is it possible they helped her disappear from Amherst and she was never in New Hampshire?
That could be true too.
And they somehow set up the accident, or was that a result of some kind of botch job? Did members of the 12 tribes, were they the ones trying to dump her car in the national forest and something went wrong? Or possibly a police officer recognized the vehicle and flagged it, and there was some weirdness going on with the 12 tribes. And as we discussed in the Hit and Run episodes, is it possible that the Saturn was on law enforcement radar as being or as having something to do, being a vehicle of interest in the Patrick Vassie hit and run, and they were tracking it, and that's why they stopped it? And that could have been another reason Maura maybe wanted to disappear, if she was involved in some kind of CI situation, or she was afraid that the hit and run would be blamed on her, even if she wasn't responsible, if someone else was borrowing the Saturn or taking it without permission. We don't know. But so what do you think about all that?
I'd like to hear more. We talked briefly about it, but we did a whole episode. Not briefly, but
I'm sure you remember every detail, Maxwell. Every detail.
But it's kind of interesting that the 12 tribes, is that their main function, is to disappear people?
No, they're a church. Maxwell, did you not pay attention to the entire previous episode? They're a church. They're all about bringing the church back to the way it was in Jesus's time, or the first century, whatever it was.
Oh, so it's just a side job to disappear people then?
I mean, it's not even necessarily a job. They just, I don't know, help thy neighbor. People in need, they help. Or, or maybe they didn't even necessarily know what the disappearance entailed. What if she just told them she wanted to escape her life, didn't give them any details, and she said, I just want to join your church, no possessions, live off the land, and just, be devoutly religious. And they were like, okay, come join us. And she did.
Oh, okay. And then if she wants to change her identity, they can do that for them.
Well, who said anything about that? And how would they be able to change her identity?
I don't know. They probably have connections.
Probably. Why would they have any connections? They're separated from the rest of the world. They're kind of like, I kind of think of it as almost like sort of like Amish-like, where they're not really part of modern technological society. They gave her a different name, allegedly, if this is what happened, and she's just no longer part of the modern world. But what's interesting is, what if Billy Roush found out somehow that this was her plan, and then he went ballistic, and then he was trying to track her down, and maybe he did? Could he have harmed her because she would rather escape her life and live with a religious tribe, with the 12 tribes of the religious church, than have to deal with Billy Roush? How would he take to that? How do you see him reacting to that?
I don't know. Probably lose his mind and start choking her.
Well, at the very least, he'd probably make a lot of phone calls, wouldn't he?
Oh yeah. Um, yeah. Someone commented. I remember the comment. Someone uh matched the name change like to some personal experience.
Yeah, someone knew someone who went through something similar. We could actually read that comment so people can get an idea of how the 12 tribes operate in certain regions. And of course, as you like to say, people are people. So I'm sure different 12 tribes members operate differently. But here's a comment that someone mentioned this. My friend had to be rescued by her dad when a hiker cabin that was run by the 12 tribes took her in and more or less said she needed to stay. They renamed her, and she was essentially stuck when she hurt her knee on the Appalachian Trail. Dad and boyfriend came back with car and took her home. That's a scary story. So they didn't necessarily help her disappear. An injured hiker who had to stop at a cabin, they just told her, "Oh, you have to stay now. Here's a new name. You're part of our tribe now, or you're part of the 12 tribes now." That's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I got
Yeah.
Maxwell Army. Yeah, so is it possible? I mean, we also, I guess we could consider the possibility if a 12 tribes member picked her up at the accident scene, if it was her at the accident scene or at the earlier accident scene, because the weathered barred corner accident scene was from many accounts it appeared staged. So that was most likely not the real accident scene if there was an accident scene. But there, from all the scanner activity, if you haven't checked out our Mindshock episode on earlier accident, check that one out. We go over multiple witnesses who overheard police scanner calls about an accident occurring earlier. So, is it possible a 12 Tribes member helped her from the accident scene, whether she was drunk or not? And then what? And then what? They take her to a 12 Tribes location and say, "Oh, you have to stay here now." Did she get through to Billy to come save her? Is Billy the good guy? He went and saved her and then she ran off, or what happened? Or was her plan from the get go to just use the 12 tribes to disappear and then escape from the 12 tribes and go somewhere else? She just needed people to help her get an immediate out because of, again, either a CI situation or possibly corrupt UMass officers involved in drug dealing or something very dangerous where she felt like she needed some assistance. And then, of course, we do have the 12 tribes operating not only near her hometown of Hanson, Massachusetts, but also in Amherst. And they've also been at UMass. So they used to have demonstrations in the Common or speeches or whatever from what multiple people have said. So we have, and then of course they have locations in New Hampshire and Vermont as well. So they're everywhere that Maura was. Just a coincidence, or do you have any thoughts on that, Maxwell?
Um, they're everywhere more where Mara was.
Yeah, I just said the 12 tribes operate. We went over this in the previous episode. The 12 tribes are near her hometown of Hanson, Massachusetts. They're also in Amherst, and they've actually spoken. 12 tribes members have done demonstrations or speeches at her campus at UMass
Oh, no
in
kidding. So,
Amherst. I guess you didn't pay attention at all in the previous podcast. And then, of course, they're all over New Hampshire and Vermont. So everywhere where Maura traveled from her hometown all the way up to these mountains where she hiked and has been on family vacations and where the final resting place of the Saturn was, that's all 12 tribes territory somewhere nearabouts. They're
that's
never
that's very interesting coincidence.
yeah, they're never too far from her movements or the Saturn's movements.
Very interesting.
Okay. I mean, of course, there's also the emails that she sent to her professors that she'd be gone a week or whatever. Was she setting up the disappearance? Was she planning to go with the 12 tribes all along? Or obviously, was that someone else using her computer if they harmed her at UMass? And we've discussed those theories as well. Because, and of course, as I mentioned on the previous podcast, if the 12 tribes did help her disappear and she was with them for whatever period of time, if she left them, something could have happened to her afterwards as well. So she could have been harmed at that point. So our astute Redditor researchers have uncovered some more information about the 12 tribes. Are you hanging on to your hat, Maxwell?
Sure, but are you gonna read that guy's comment first, or
What guy?
the person that commented about 12 tribes?
About the person that changed her name? I already read it. I read it like 10 minutes ago and we went over
Oh,
it.
sorry.
Oh, man. This is a post on their-b-dragons.com about the 12 tribes. This was posted July 27th, 2014, about someone's experience with this Yellow Delhi institution. Now, this person was actually in Australia, but however, they had experience prior. The cuteness of the Yellow Deli is literally irresistible. The benches and tables are carved from huge slabs of reclaimed wood and situated in nooks which bestow you with a cozy, secluded sanctuary. The lighting is soft and flattering. The decor is rustic and homey. And the food, dear God, the food. Fresh, organic, rich, comforting, and prepared with obvious love. It takes a few blinks to notice the odd garb of the staff because they blend right into the ambience. The men wear hearty beards and ponytails, and the women are fascinatingly modest, with no face paint and hair as plain as you can imagine, all in clothing one step shy of burlap sacks. Is this a coincidence of flower children all happening to accumulate in one establishment? Nope. This is a cult. I use such a label with hesitance because it brings to mind thoughts of Kool-Aid and mass suicide and sex scandals. This is a cult more like the Amish. I was in Rutledge, Vermont when I first made acquaintance with the 12 tribes, drawn to their cheery yellow restaurant facade like moths to a searchlight. The food was a culinary orgasm, and the people were as pleasant and generous and patient and warm as any human is capable. We were eager to learn more. They showed us the adjoining hostel, equally adorable, where weary or impoverished travelers, many walking the Appalachian Trail, could exchange labor for room and board. They spoke of their faith and their disillusionment with modern religious and warmed the cockles of my cold, cold heart. Imagine the direction of my travel when I discovered a Yellow Deli listing in Australia. So she goes into some personal details. I departed Sydney solo and headed for the hills. After a long drive into the Blue Mountains and a heart-racing descent and climb up the giant stair alongside the renowned and far too photographed Three Sisters Pinnacles, I headed into the town of Katoomba for my one splurge meal of the month at a restaurant I was certain could be worth it. You might as well have picked up Vermont's Yellow Deli and plunked it directly into the mountains of Australia. Identical ambiance, identical staff, identical menu. Absolutely no complaint from me. My huge and hearty dinner arrived. I expected a solo consumption, but was joined by a rotating company of the wait staff on their own dinner breaks. We spoke of philosophy and the failure of modern religions, what exactly they believed, and how that manifested itself in their everyday living. Their way of life was firing on all levels for me. Organic, simple, devoid of selfishness, and brimming with love and care, until somehow they drifted the topic toward evolution. That seems to be a sticking point for a lot of people. She goes into personal beliefs on evolution, some illogical and unsound, but anyway, I coughed up their metaphorical Kool-Aid and started probing for the cracks in their beliefs. Just a drop of doubt introduced in the right place, and an entire structure of faith can be compromised. But they killed my desire to break them with pure kindness. That's kind of interesting though, that this particular backpacker, through fallacious reasoning and circular reasoning, she believes that evolution is irrefutable truth dogmatically, based on religious faith, of course, and not the actual scientific method. And she's kind of saying she thought she could break them by introducing doubt. And the hubris displayed is kind of crazy, because if evolution is not true and something else is true, that's kind of silly for her to just assume that she happens to know the truth when it's not the truth, and she's looking to break other people. But that's again kind of amusing. Anyway, they killed her desire to do so with pure kindness. Okay. Returned the following night for beverages. The wait staff learned I had blown my budget on dinner with them the night before. They brought forth piles of food and beverage completely free of charge, because they are really truly that generous. They had already eagerly invited me to join them on the organic farm in the lowlands for a bit of woofing, and I jumped at the chance. I wanted a sneaky beak inside this beast. So she had other people join them. They thought the community might be willing to lend some tools. The farm sits on some hefty acreage a short drive from its companion restaurant near Picton, Oz. We arrived a little shaken to a meal of whatever we wanted from the salivation-inducing menu, and another illuminating conversation with our favorite tribe member, who invited us to call him Ken because remembering everyone's Hebrew names was proving pretty difficult. Work would begin the following day, thus the boys were shepherded off to the single male's dorm, hot water bottles already warming the sheets, and I was returned to the farm to a camper trailer of exquisite luxury about 300 yards from anybody's company. Morning prayer was at 7, but I awoke so early in anticipation of a real shower — I had been bathing in a waterfall for days — that I sadly avoided being lulled out of sleep by an exclusive performance of recorder and vocals by the young women. Expletive got real at that morning prayer. It was the very definition of soul sucking, even for this native English speaker who is fascinated by religion. I truly pitied the Frenchies and their inevitable incomprehension. This was a total overdose of meandering thoughts and impractical lessons. Passages are read from the Bible. They use several versions to compare the translations, and a multitude of contemplations are shared. Even the children are asked to ruminate. What widened my eyes was when the Bible study leader didn't know, within a passage he was preaching, what a key noun meant. He was honestly asking the community. To wrap up, everybody, and I mean everybody, takes several minutes to reflect on the topic of the day, or really anything else they want. It is filled with raising of hands to Jesus, love, and selflessness, and these people are serious rock stars at compassion, but OMG, shut up. It's an interesting blog post. Thank the heavens that, for the evening prayer, snacks, music, and dance are welcomed into the mix. It is happy and heartwarming, and the live music of guitar and recorders is pretty respectable, but the dancing, based on Hebrew group movement, is sloppy at best, and they occasionally do this in public to attract new members. I long to join in, but it takes an entire song just to make sense of the footwork. After an insanely delicious breakfast, we head to work. Luke is off to construct a house 12 years in the making. It has a long way to go, but will eventually house the full community. Mark to the bakery — it's men's work here because of the crazy hours — and me to the place where all women belong, the kitchen. It felt phenomenal to be working again, and one of the members remarked at how at home I looked. As long as you don't scratch too deep past the surface, this place really did feel like home. What concerned us most were the children. The adults had all come to the community by choice, sacrificing their independence and possessions willingly, but these youth would be confined to their parents' choice for likely their whole lives. I mean, that's kind of weird, though. How does she know that? They are the nicest damned cherubs you shall ever meet, infused with respect and personal responsibility and empathy. But their role in society was carved in stone the moment their gender was determined. The men shall bake and build. That's kind of funny though. Like in most people would say, I mean, is baking kitchen work or what?
What do you mean baking kitchen work?
Well, she said the men shall bake and build, and the women shall cook and bear children. I mean, baking is cooking, is it not?
Yeah.
I mean, you're making food. Their understanding of science will not extend beyond compost tea and soil composition. They will not have the skills with money or human nature to survive outside the community should they come to give it a try. I mean, this almost feels like the ramblings of some like spoiled kid who's just backpacking or whatever, as if skills can't be learned. I mean, this whole post is quite silly, but it is giving us an insight into a 12 tribes community, although obviously I'm sure many of the communities are different from each other. What I came to learn is that you can cook and use electricity and dance and wash dishes on the Sabbath, but you sure as hell cannot have a machine do your laundry. How does a tribe come to decide what they believe and what biblical rules to follow or ignore? For them, a question arises. They ruminate for a time and wait for a spirit to guide them. The spirit said no to laundry. And if some members believe the spirit is speaking one way and others say another, well, as explained by my laundry denying new teacher, if you find yourself speaking alone, you are listening to a false lying spirit. You can't even argue with this kind of crazy, just smile and nod. Within a year or two, this community will embark on a crazy experiment of faith. The Old Testament requires of the Hebrews that every 7 years they and their fields rest. There will be no commerce and no agriculture. In the decades this group has existed, this Shemitah has never been attempted. It seems pretty rare that the Hebrews even tried it. Well, how would she even know that? What the heck? They are deep into the ponderings of logistics and awaiting spiritual guidance. I long to be a fly on the wall to watch it all unfold. Good thing we are here now, eating like kings, and not when they are starving come next winter. Would the world be a better place if filled with these folks? Possibly. It certainly would taste better. Are they hypocrites to embrace the science of soil ecology and the technology of electricity and credit card machines, but reject modern medicine, save for extreme cases, and the inconvenient truths science also offers, like evolution? Science is a hammer, like a tool. It doesn't offer truth, it's a method. I can't even imagine what a homosexual child born into this world would experience. The depths of woe, I suppose. What I do know with certainty is that the 12 tribes and I get on famously, provided nobody mentions dinosaurs or monkeys, and that I will be back, be it in Oz or stateside, or in their castle in Germany. They have a castle in Germany, that's pretty cool. Because I long to mimic their lifestyle, just minus one very overreaching book. So, pretty biased account, silly in many ways. However, that is insight into the community. And I'm sure different communities run differently, but it seems like they really are very nice people that would help someone in need. Would you say so?
Yep.
All right, so here is our final mind shock of the episode, and this is a big one. So you do need to focus, Maxwell. This is an article published recently, June 28th, 2019, on theepochtimes.com, U.S. News. FBI documents show alleged child sex abuse and drug trafficking at 12 tribes. You ready?
Yep.
Once again, big thanks to our Reddit researchers who are able to dig up some incredible information. This might actually be the smoking gun in the Maura Murray case. Did that get your attention, Maxwell?
Yep.
The FBI released redacted documents this week on the cult community known as the 12 Tribes. Interesting that they don't call them a church, they call them a cult community, revealing numerous allegations against the group, including child sexual abuse, drug trafficking, ritual abuse, and forced labor. The 61-page document, released by the Bureau's Vault Library on June 25th, included separate complaints detailing the alleged crimes, mostly against children. The cult has communes all over the U.S., including Vermont, New York, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Florida, California, Tennessee, and more. In 2013, a preliminary investigation was conducted by the FBI based on a complaint the Bureau received from the Alexander County Sheriff's Office in North Carolina that children were being sexually exploited at a 12 Tribes compound in the town of Hiddenite. The case was closed the same year. 12 Tribes has communities around the world, with the Hiddenite location being one of its training centers. Documents showed that drugs were used at the commune and placed into ritual bread, usually LSD and hallucinogenic plants, as well as heroin and meth. There were also ritual ceremonies once a month that involved the bread being broken and gang rapes. Punishment within the cult involved being beaten with a rod and having the wife or children of the accused being sexually assaulted by other cult members. The sheriff's office had been aware of the Hiddenite location since 2006, and that much of the land in the area was owned by the cult, since families who joined had to turn over their property. Now, this information is all bringing forth, these allegations, if true, very, very dark. But does that open to the door to Maura possibly even being accidentally killed in some kind of situation within the cult with some of these violent cult members, if this is true? What do you think about that, Maxwell?
It's good theory.
And if the FBI is involved, is it possible that one of the 12 Tribes members helping Maura was some kind of undercover FBI agent, and that's why there's so much strange redactions, DEA activity in North Haverhill, New Hampshire, that particular night? Just the U.S. Marshals being interested in Haverhill, all of the activity that's going on with all these government agencies in Haverhill that just happened to go on February 9th, 2004. Is that because the 12 Tribes was involved and an undercover government agent might have been involved with the 12 Tribes as well? What do you think about that, Maxwell?
I like it.
And we didn't even get to the Mindshock yet. Members of the Hiddenite compound also allegedly were forced to go to a location and work all night and day for 3 straight days in what was known as a push that involved 3 or 6 members. These seem to be isolated cases, but I'll keep going. Those working were allowed to drink coffee that may have had something added to it to help keep them awake. In a prior complaint included in the released documents, a name that was redacted had contacted the public line to report child sexual abuse in a 12 Tribes commune located in Manitou Springs, Colorado. The person said children were threatened not to tell the police or anyone else about the beatings or abuse, and that the cult ran a restaurant in the area. Yet another document, one from 2010, detailed how a former member was allegedly sexually and physically abused by cult members as a child, but had repressed the memories. In 2009, the former member had seen a psychologist who reported the abuse to local authorities and had also contacted national leaders of the cult to inform them of her abuse. The former member also attended personal meetings with the cult leaders. All right, here we go. Here's the mind shock. Are you ready? You ready, Maxwell?
Yeah, I'm ready.
After a meeting on a date that was redacted, the former member was killed in a car crash that was, quote, was not accidental and was allegedly orchestrated by cult members to prevent the woman from, quote, propagating the claims of abuse, end quote. In the 12 Tribes cult, members were also allowed to punish any child belonging to the community. The FBI document detailed how members would take their children to be whooped, meaning beaten, if they smiled at another child during a gathering or if they were horsing around. Bigger children have missed gatherings for a couple of days at a time because they were beaten so badly and left in a condition where they could not attend, the document said, based on an interview with an FBI agent. One former member said that they were once locked in a cellar, beaten, and deprived of food. All right, so there's a lot of problems here, but basically they're saying there was a member that was killed in a car crash that was not accidental, an orchestrated deadly car accident.
That's crazy, dude.
It's kind of weird. Why did they redact the date? Is it possible the date was February 9th, 2004?
Oh shit, that's crazy.
I mean, it looks like they're talking about one particular member who only saw the psychologist in 2009, and this document was brought up 2010. So unless they're talking about a different member, it would seem that this is related to the Colorado issue. However, if the 12 tribes really are killing people in staged accidents, what does that tell you?
Tells a lot. Could be Maura.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know. We have no idea what any of this has to do with anything. Is it possible that there was, again, if there was some kind of undercover DEA or FBI due to illegal activities within the 12 tribes in that area? And once again, we do know that Saturns were one of the most commonly stolen cars in 2004, and also drug running vehicles. Black Saturns were common drug courier cars. If you haven't checked out our podcast on the drug mule, where we examine this theory, we talk about the Saturn and the vehicles that are used. Was the vehicle mistaken? Was there an undercover agent involved? Why is random redacted information all over the place with this case? It doesn't make any sense. So this is all very, very mind shocking. And people that are quick to dismiss the 12 tribes connections, if any, I mean, we went over the main witness that reported seeing Maura with another member. We just, obviously, we don't have a lot of information on this. Where did she see her? How close was this to the accident scene? We don't have any of this information. However, and then we also didn't talk about how the 12 tribes are also active in Canada. And there were sightings of Maura in Canada. Renner reported this as well in Sherbrooke and other areas. Maybe they're legitimate, maybe they're not. Did the 12 tribes move her up? Did she jump from one 12 tribes community to another because they were helping her? We don't know any of this. Was an agent killed in this whole operation in Haverhill, and that's why there's so much redactions? Or was it a rogue agent? Is it all part of some bigger case? Does it overlap with the 12 tribes? Looking at all of this information and some of the shady activity that the 12 tribes might possibly be involved in, it might not be as far of a stretch as it first appeared. And of course, this is Mindshock. The only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure. And we must investigate every avenue, because honest investigation does not entail dogmatically shutting down avenues of investigation. If you want that, there are other podcasts for you out there. So, any final thoughts, Maxwell?
Sounds pretty good.
Shocking, mind-shocking stuff. Feel free to leave your thoughts, comments, theories, rebuttals in the comments section. Plenty more left to explore. As always, if you like the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when we upload new podcasts, new episodes. Some will be uploaded exclusively to Facebook, so make sure you like and follow our Facebook page, also in the description. And you could check us out on Reddit, Twitter, and Patreon as well. This is Bruce McGuire signing off.
And Maxwell Powers.
We'll catch you guys next time.